Hi there, everyone. So happy you've joined us for another informative edition of Jamaica Magazine. I am your host, Adrian Atkinson. There's a lot to inspire you as we share stories of Jamaica's growth and development, starting with the news of the day. You can't afford to miss any of it, so stick around.
Good day, I'm Twyla Whelan and this is your JS News for Monday, October 28, 2024. The National Health Fund, NHF, has received a modern cold storage room for medications and vaccines. The facility is part of a $1.2 million grant funding to Jamaica from the government and people of Japan through UNICEF. At the commissioning of the cold room at the NHF warehouse on Thursday, Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton said the facility will strengthen resilience in the health system.
The protection of these medicines, vaccines in this case, is absolutely critical. And the modernization of this warehouse with this addition is also symbolic of the importance that we place on it as a government going forward in the post-COVID period, where we have to be more prepared, more resilient in terms of a health system. And this facility does provide for that kind of strengthening. So I want to just place on record our appreciation for this donation.
Chief Executive Officer of the NHF, Everton Anderson, noted that the cold storage room will enhance operations at the NHF warehouse, which handles approximately $2 billion in pharmaceuticals on a monthly basis.
This cold room now really takes us to another level, because rather than having a number of refrigerators and freezers, we're now able to store everything in a better location. So we're really very happy for this donation, very happy for the partnership.
COVID has shown us that investment in cold chain system strengthening was critical, and with the support of Japan, we have been pleased to support the government of Jamaica in strengthening efforts to make sure that children's right to access vaccines are fulfilled.
Still on health, Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton has described as unjustified and unfortunate reports in the media which suggested that poor theatre conditions had halted surgeries at the Bustamante Hospital for Children. Dr. Tufton said the way the information was transmitted and the impression it gave negatively affects and to some extent undermines the confidence in the health system and the institution.
It may be a mix-up in communication, but there's no doubt that it transmits a very negative impression of the institution. An institution, by the way, that since January has done 1,900 surgeries. This is the list that I have here. 1,900 surgeries, saving lives and helping youngsters.
Dr. Tufton was speaking at a press briefing on Thursday at the Bustamante Hospital, where he responded to reports that conditions at the hospital had put a pause on surgeries by a team from overseas. Community consultations under the SPARK program continued with the latest session held in northeastern St. Anne on Thursday. Member of Parliament Matthew Samuda told the residents of the Lime Hall and St. Anne's Bay divisions that the National Works Agency had completed several of the estimates needed for the road improvement works. Mr. Samuda said once feedback is given, the implementation phase will begin. Commenting on the growing size of St. Anne's Bay, he said significant investments to improve the quality of the roads will be undertaken.
What we're discussing today is really how do we take the town of St. Anne's Bay, the growing town and cluster of Lime Hall, the connectivity that exists in Draxall and all the communities in and around it, the residential areas like a civil, the residential areas that are growing like a new ground. How do we identify the roads that need most attention, that will ease the stress that you're having on our roads?
For their part, residents voiced their enthusiasm for the work to be undertaken. They also welcomed the clarification and transparency presented.
I do have a little bit of spark in this, in me now that I've heard about this program, because it finally seems as if my international travel through the potholes to China, Australia, and all those places will be ending and should help us to stay on our side of the road instead of the part of the road that actually has a surface. Yes.
Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck is reiterating the ministry's commitment to making justice accessible for all Jamaicans, including the disabled. Speaking at the St. Mary leg of the Legal Aid Council's Justice Fair, Minister Chuck emphasized that justice facilities have been made more accessible for individuals with disabilities. He noted that 2 of the 3 mobile justice units are now equipped with ramps to enhance accessibility.
They're available to any community in Jamaica. You just have to book it in advance. We want every single Jamaican to feel and to know that they can access justice. Because in any interaction between people, it's important that if there's a dispute, a disagreement, that you can resolve it and get justice.
Additionally, the minister highlighted ongoing efforts to build the capacity of personnel within the ministry to better serve the deaf community.
To this end, we are ensuring that every member of the deaf community can fully participate in legal processes. And that is why the MOJ team, the Ministry of Justice team, through our hard-working Legal Aid Council, will be pushing to equip our legal professionals, law enforcement officers, and support staff with the skills necessary to communicate effectively using sign language.
And finally, the Jamaica Fire Brigade JFB is observing Fire and Life Safety Awareness Week from October 27 to November 2 under the theme, Embracing Digital Innovation to Improve Fire Safety. Deputy Commissioner Sean Martin says the week will showcase the integration of technology by the Fire Brigade in its operations. He was speaking during a GIS think tank.
Because with the advancement of technology, what we want to do is make the public aware how they can utilize technology to create a safer environment.
Mr. Martin says that among the activities being planned are a series of expos hosted by each division, showcasing various smart fire safety devices and how they can be integrated into daily fire safety practices. The expo for Area 4 will be held on October 29 at the Black River Fire Station in St. Elizabeth, Area 2 on October 30 at the Port Antonio Fire Station in Portland, Area 3 on October 31 in Mandeville, Manchester, and Area 1 on November 1 at St. William Grant Park in Kingston. According to Mr. Martin, fire safety companies will be on location to display safety devices.
Because when you look at the value of what you have in your homes, spending less than 50 or less than $100 to protect that value makes sense.
In addition, tickets are on sale at stations across the island for the Firefighters Ball on Saturday, November 2 at Royalton Resort in Negril. And that's it for GIS News Today. I'm Twyla Whelan. Thanks for watching.
An unhealthy diet is one of the major risk factors contributing to high incidence of non-communicable diseases, NCDs, in Jamaica, and the government is working to address the issue.
The human brain is 60% fat. Fats provide a storehouse of energy for the body and promote normal cell growth and healthy skin. Fat also acts like a cushion and heat regulator to protect the heart, liver, and other vital organs. And as most people would know, fat adds flavor to our food and helps us feel full longer. It is clear that having fat in our diet is beneficial in many ways, but too much or the wrong kind can be equally harmful. Fat is a source of essential fatty acids which help the body absorb vitamins A, D, and E. There are 3 types: Monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fatty acids are both considered good fats. The third, saturated fatty acid, is what we are often encouraged to avoid or lower our intake. So too, trans fat, which is created by a process called hydrogenation that makes the fat harder at room temperature to increase the shelf life.
What is in our foods impact on the quality of our lives?
The World Health Organization recommends that trans fat intake be limited to less than 1% of total energy intake, which translates to less than 2.2 grams per day with a 2,000 calorie diet.
Studies have shown that saturated fat increases the amount of bad cholesterol, or LDL, in the blood and has no effect on the good cholesterol, HDL. Trans fatty acids increase the amount of bad cholesterol in the blood and also reduce the amount of good cholesterol. Diets high in these bad fats are linked to obesity, heart disease, and other cardiovascular-related problems. Trans fat also causes malformation of cell membranes and other cell structures in the body, leading to weak cell walls and abnormal cell function. They are not recognized by enzymes and can cause neural degeneration and diminished brain function. So why then is trans fat used? Well, taste and economics. Trans fat makes food stay fresh on the shelf longer and improves food texture and flavor stability. Based on a 2021 assessment of the fatty acids in commonly consumed foods in Jamaica, our intake is very high.
If you look at confectionery, you see how high the percentage is there, and it comes down in several of the other food products. Okay, this is just the percentage that have trans fat. Notice that the canned foods had none at all, or the beverages that we looked at had no trans fat. Okay? But this is just saying whether there was trans fat in the product. What we are even more interested in is which products had high levels of trans fat. In terms of the highest concentrations, more than 2% of fat as trans fat, we see the dairy products, and it goes down like that. And then when we now look at those that had the same products that had high saturated fat along with the trans fat, we see the figures here.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is looking to change this and encourage better food production and consumption practices.
Healthier alternatives can be used that do not affect the taste or the cost of food.
Knowing what is in our food is part of the way forward. It is a lifestyle change to come through education, product reformulation, regulation, food labeling, and monitoring.
The elimination of industrially produced trans fats is part of a comprehensive policy package to prevent diet-related NCDs, which comprises mandatory food labeling, ingredients lists, nutrition panels declaring trans fats, interpretive front-of-package labeling based on nutrient profiles, restrictions on food marketing aimed at children and adolescents, mandatory standards for healthy food served in schools, and limits on sugar content.
It's not just about our resolve to do the right thing to consume what is in our best interest. That in and of itself is a challenge, because we have to now nudge, encourage, motivate, and in some instances legislate, I believe, certain types of actions to encourage better quality of life from a nutrition consumption standpoint. I think it is essential to advocating in the first instance for voluntary compliance as an immediate response.
As consumers, we have the choice of using naturally occurring unhydrogenated vegetable oils such as canola, safflower, sunflower, or olive oil. We can also limit red meat and choose lean cuts. It is also recommended that we steam, boil, or bake foods instead of cooking them in fats or oils. Another approach is to choose low-fat dairy products, poultry, and fish. and purchase processed foods made with unhydrogenated oils rather than partially or hydrogenated vegetable oils or saturated fats. Use soft margarines as a substitute for butter and choose soft margarine over the harder stick forms. Limit consumption of commercially fried foods and baked goods made with shortening or partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. Not only are these high in fat, but it is also likely to be trans fat. And cut back on foods high in dietary cholesterol. Let's eat healthy and live well.
Did you know Jamaica is signatory to 11 trade agreements with countries around the world? These agreements make it easier for Jamaican goods and services to enter the marketplace of participating countries. Come, follow us as we learn about the various trade agreements Jamaican businesses can use to expand the market for their products and services.
In 2021, global exports of products amounted to $28 trillion. But how much of this global market can Jamaicans secure for their own enrichment? The Trade Board Limited, TBL, is looking to answer that question, with strategic efforts to boost Jamaica's exports and secure a better share of the global market.
You will agree that for Jamaica's economy to grow, we must earn fundamentally new monies from outside our shores. This can only be done through greater exports of Jamaica's goods and services.
Strategies like the Step Up Exports with Trade Agreements project should help. It's putting existing and potential exporters in a position to increase utilization and benefit from the various trade agreements to which Jamaica is a signatory. Jamaica is party to 11 preferential trade agreements that facilitate the export of goods and services with little to no duty in the receiving countries. The Step Up Exports with Trade Agreements project was launched in May 2022. Its primary objective is to promote knowledge and use of 9 preferential trade agreements for which the Trade Board has management responsibility.
We are the designated government's authority to certify products which complies with the rules of origin criteria on the 9 preferential trade agreements. This means that we have to, 1, we have to analyze products to ensure conformance to prescribed criteria of the agreements. We have to issue a certificate of origin that permits the qualifying products to be granted preferential treatment.
These preferential trade agreements include the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas that facilitates the free movement of goods, services, labor, and capital among CARICOM countries. There is the Caribbean Basin Initiative, which covers exports to the US, and the Caribbean-Canada Free Trade Agreement, CARIBCAN for short. A generalized system of preference GSP was created under the World Trade Organization WTO to assist developing countries export in a one-way arrangement to developed countries. The other trade agreements, which remain significantly underutilized, are the CARICOM Venezuela Trade and Investment Agreement, the CARICOM Colombia Trade and Economic and Technical Cooperation Agreement, CARICOM Dominican Republic Free Trade Agreement, CARICOM Cuba Trade and Economic Cooperation Agreement, and the CARICOM Costa Rica Free Trade Agreement. These have a combined market of 100 million in population. Jamaican exporters can also trade under the CARIFORUM European Union Economic Partnership Agreement and the CARIFORUM United Kingdom Economic Partnership Agreement, which are managed through Jamaica Customs. These trade agreements provide access, but there are rules governing how and what goods qualify to be accepted in the partner countries. Among them is the Rules of Origin criteria. This looks at whether the goods or constituents are originating or non-originating from parties that are signatory to the particular treaty. Then there is the wholly produced criteria, looking at whether the final product was made with goods from the exporting country or another that is also party to the same treaty. There may also be a change of tariff criteria and value-added criteria governing these preferential arrangements.
What we do at the Trade Board is we analyze the documents to ensure that whatever requirements or whatever composition make up your particular good that you're seeking to export qualifies under a preferential trade agreement to be certified for the rules of origin. After it is certified, then we issue a certificate of origin. Now, in layman terms, my understanding, a certificate of origin is like a passport. As if you want to travel, if you want to go to a particular place and you need a visa, for example, your good would need that visa to take it to that country to say that it is qualified. Once it qualifies, then you are able to get duty-free and a reduction of some taxes at the customs agencies.
Some of the products for which certificates of origin have been issued under the CVI with the US, for example, include baked goods, black castor oil, pepper powder, and ketchup. Expert teams from the Trade Board are sent into the field to interact directly with manufacturers and potential exporters and increase awareness of the various trade agreements and their benefits. This is also part of the Step Up Export Initiative.
This is not an exercise that we have started and we intend to stop, but we're going to continue to do that.
Exporting on a commercial basis will require individuals or entities to first register as an exporter with Jamaica Promotions Corporation, JAMPRO. The Trade Board Limited will then carry out the necessary procedures to issue certificates of origin.
What the Trade Board is doing, the other agencies doing is fantastic, because what it is doing is allowing me to move the hassle of agreements from the, with the ministries, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and so on and so forth, so that we can do our work.
We have to focus on exports. We have to focus everything we make, we say how we get it export. And not just think about yourself. Talk to your friends, talk to the Trade Board, talk to JANAC, talk to JAMPRO, talk to JBDC. We must study these many trade agreements to grow our exports exponentially, increase good employment, and make Jamaica a wealthy country.
On this next leg of the Jamaica Magazine journey, we're taking you into the Blue Mountains range. Sit tight for an inspiring story of coffee growing.
Everything in nature speaks, and it's for us to appreciate nature's dialect. The chirping of the birds, the whispers of the trees, a sound of life, a sound of earth's delight.
It's in the discovery of the essence of life that we get to partake in the nation's offspring. It's coffee, the signature taste of Jamaica.
Bowl of boiling coffee, morning. I get up like 4:30 in the morning, 4:30, pretty early. First thing I do, I give the Creator thanks for waking me up, right? And then I pack my little bag and I head to the farm. Once you're in the farm, you connect with nature, right? Just like how the plants grow, that's the spirit that you have. I'm Stephen Hibbert, CEO of Exotic Blue Coffee Company, also the farmer of Exotic Blue Coffee Farm. Agriculture is a way of life for us who live in the mountain. Hence, I decided on going into coffee, and the reason for that, I have a full-time job, a job that takes me all over the island, right? Sometimes internationally as well. So I had to plant something that I don't have to be nurturing like a baby, 365 days a year. Hence, I Coffee was, I think, was my dream call, and I grabbed it with both hands. You look on the stages of coffee. The coffee becomes white, that's the flowering. Then it becomes green, that's the berries start to form, and you're watching, that's a little baby growing up, and then the coffee's turning red, you know, it's ripe. And then it goes straight to the processing, and then from the processing to the consumer. What other joy there is.
Pause. How about taking us through the process?
I bring coffee to you from the seed to the cup. What do I mean? The coffee is planted, I planted the coffee, right? Once the coffee is planted and nurtured and start to produce in about 2 years' time, the coffee is now processed. So once it is reaped, it is taken from the farm. And when we take it from the farm, it weighs 60 pounds. So just to take that out on your head, right? The passion in navigating those mountains, those slopes, right? Those 60-degree slopes. When coffee is planted, especially when they're young, it has to be grown under certain shades. So your shade cover can't be that too dense. So we normally plant bananas planting throughout the field. And once it reaches a certain stage, when the coffee reaches like a 3-year-old, we can start to remove those bananas from the farm. The banana also takes the nutrients away from the coffee. So hence we don't really plant and keep the bananas into the farm. Most farmers are really suffering from that. Right, you have the sooty mole, you have the white flies, leaf miner, and so on. But the critical one is the coffee berry borer. These are some little weevil that lays hundreds of eggs into the coffee. So field sanitation is crucial to mitigate against such. And we can use like chemicals and so on, but I move away from the chemical. I try to go the natural way. So what I do is set some traps in the farm to trap those berry borers. And also use field sanitation, ensure that the dry coffee comes off the tree and the earth is dug up and they are buried, right? That's how I mitigate against the coffee berry borer. But there are real pests to the coffee. Now the coffee is now taken where it is processed, which is washed, pulped, and dry. The drying process takes you sometimes 3 weeks to dry, sometimes 4 weeks, based on the weather or the temperature in the mountains here. Once the coffee is now dry, it is rested. It stays in the storeroom for 8 weeks, minimum 8 weeks. After it is rested, it is now hulled, which goes to another machine. The machine cleans up the coffee, and then it is graded. Once this roast, we now grind, and I can give you a different style of roast based on what the consumer wants.
There's the Italian roast, the Turkish roast, the city and full city roasts, the dark roast, and the medium roast. It is ultimately entirely up to you to decide on the roast that best suits your palate.
The coffee is then packaged and delivered. 2 years ago, we weren't making any money out of coffee, right? Because I used to sell my coffee to the processors, right? And there are a number of processors in Jamaica. It's hard work, very, very hard work. You have to be dedicated to be a coffee farmer. Sometimes the price is not right? But you still have to dig deep and bring good coffee to the consumer. Sometimes when your customer call you and say, this coffee is the bomb, you know, it gives you that energy, so you want to go more. Jamaica is prized, the coffee is prized, and you are a part of that process. You know, it gives you that spirit inside of you to go further. I would encourage young people to get involved in farming, get involved in coffee. Now, the more people get in coffee, we can produce more coffee to send to the globe. It is a sought after coffee. It's one of the best coffee in the world right now. Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee.
It's that deep, rich coffee flavor.
That is the signature of Jamaica.
Our half-hour journey through the pages of Jamaica Magazine ends right here for today. But be sure to join us again tomorrow on the same station for more news, features, and information you can use. In the meantime, visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for this and other offerings. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Until next time, walk good.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.